The gods were angry. It started 2 months ago and hasn't stopped. Shadows in the clouds, smoke in the skies. We had been trembling in our homes for weeks every night as the elders warned us of impending doom and horrible death. We were wise to heed their warning as one night, a falling star came from the heavens and flattened the town hall. Thankfully, nobody was harmed, as we were all deep in the caves under the mountain safe and sound. Stars fell around us. Streaks of light coursed through the night sky day in and day out. Sometimes we would see massive blasts of light high up, as if a ball of fire appeared. Fear gripped us, and for the first time in our history, we missed our first harvest. Too scared of potential destruction, we let the fields grow too much, failing to harvest for the first time in generations. By the time desperation kicked in, and the elders ordered us to brave the angered gods. We collected maybe a fifth of the grains and fruits we usually got. It didn't help that a few falling stars had set our largest field on fire, and we couldn't save it. We were very much on the brink of a food shortage now, and desperation was setting in. As per tradition in times of shortages, we gathered at what was left of our town hall. I was one of the men who volunteered for rationing, reducing my food supply and handing it over to someone else who needed it more. I would eat once every 2 days as opposed to twice every day. Sacrifices had to be made, but we would endure. We always did. Despite prayers and rituals, however, the gods carried on their war in the skies. What did we do to anger them? Why did they harm us so? What did we do wrong? It mattered not. One day, I had decided to go out and brave the gods' terror and fetch a gopple from the forest. It is a type of delicious fruit that grows from small bushes on the forest floor, and we consider it a delicacy, a treat that can be made into cake. I had been saving my ration, not eating for over a week in an effort to trade it for some cake mixture so I could bake a cake for my little niece. Her birth week was upcoming, and I wanted to make sure that she understood. Even through the madness, there was always happiness to be had somewhere. I had slipped out during a meeting, and despite my grumbling stomach, made my way through the forest with the largest carry item I could find. Maybe if I was lucky, I could find some edible roots and mushrooms on the way and fortify the pot at tonight's community dinner. I had my blade, my helmet, and my borrowed tote, and the will of a happy child to carry me through the day, despite my growling belly. I spent hours wandering through the forestry, sniffling about and catching roots and shoots. I even got lucky and squealed in happiness as I found a colony of mushrooms that I gathered, struggling to keep my sanity as I held myself back from gobbling them all up right there. I held fast, though, and resumed, looking for my prize. As I approached what I knew to be a clearing near the forest's edge, I smelled fire and smoke. Clearly, the god's wrath had set some more things on fire. I ignored it, prepared to run at the first sign of a flicker or flame of the forest burning, and made my way through to where I knew at least one gopple bush was. I sniffled along the ground a bit and stopped dead in my tracks as soon as I hit the clearing. Something smelled amazing. My tummy grumbled angrily at me at the smell of whatever that was, and I looked around. My hunger turned to fearful terror as I spotted what was responsible for the smell. 4 creatures of varying sizes, wearing clearly metallic armor, gathered around a campfire. They were huge, obscene monsters, with 5 long fingers at the end. Of each of their only 2 arms, they stood up straight from the ground on 2 large muscled legs. They had strange tufts of hair around their faces and atop their heads with rows of sharp teeth showing through. I stood there frozen in fear. But my rumbling belly and hunger, that sweet, succulent scent. Hunger overcame me and I approached. Every fiber of my being was screaming at me to turn, run, and tell the elders so we could form a defense. But the food, the smell, it was overpowering my will. Maybe I could pinch a piece of their food and run, taking some home. The elders could determine what's in it and use it against them? I didn't know. 10 million things were racing through my mind all at once. But one thing was for certain, whatever that flat thing on the ground was, I wanted to eat it. I couldn't understand their language yet. Our people communicate through mind touch, so if I could get close enough, I could translate their language by touching one of them, and we could have an advantage in the future. I snuck up as close as I could and listened in. I saw a patch of bare skin on one of them, and gently laid a hand on it. My mind raced instantly with language, the guttural noises made by their sharp tongues and sharp teeth now making sense. I snuck over and found what was on the floor. The creatures were all a different color. I later determined that they were all covered in dye or paint, red, green, blue, and yellow. So, how'd it happen to you? The one covered in blue paint asked. Grenade. Took out 6 of us. It was funny, once the ringing in the ears wore off. The one coated in red paint said. I crept closer to the tasty-smelling flat thing on the ground as their conversation continued. What was a grenade? Ringing in ears? What were these creatures? I got hit by a sniper. Friggin' railgun slug from half a continent away. The one coated in yellow said. Freaks. But I got hit with a tank shell. Had to get mediced up and I was able to hear the tank commander chew his gunner out. Hilarious. The one coated in green paint said, the 4 of them laughing heartily. Tank shell? Medic? What? Are these creatures insane or was I missing something? My mind disappeared and my angry belly took over as I approached the hot, tasty-smelling confection in a small metallic pan on the floor. I couldn't help myself anymore. It was just too tantalizing, too tasty-looking, and too tasty-smelling. I took one bite just to see, and my world melted into oblivion and I just carried on eating. I don't know how long, but apparently too long. I failed to notice a massive machine coated in red and blue paint appear from the forest's edge and sit down near the group. The loud clunk of the mechanism snapped me out of my daze, but I couldn't stop eating. I stared up at them all wide-eyed and hoping they wouldn't see me while their conversation continued. That's what you get when you get caught in a crossfire, the newcomer said as the machine folded away, revealing a female version of the 4 creatures around. The others responded with a gale of laughter. I froze with fear as her gaze settled on me. Her face softened, her eyes sparkled. I ignored everything and just kept eating. I was starved, hungered. I couldn't stop myself, it tasted so good. Hey, where'd that come from? The female said, as her giant mechanical hand pointed at me. The 4 looked over at me. I paused, dead still as I was caught purple-handed. My mind was broken, though. I failed to run. I failed to fight back. I failed even to reach for my sword, and just kept gnawing away at the deliciously delicious confection. Whoa, I made that lasagna, dude! The one covered in red yelled, then grabbed me. I was dumbstruck by hunger and taste of deliciousness. I didn't fight back as I was raised above the ground in his hands and made to face him. I belched loudly, licking my lips and trying to get all the flavor I could find. It was likely my last meal, so I might as well get all of it I could. It looks like a pit bull-sized caterpillar with a chibi kitty face. It's a friggin' mochi caterpillar, he yelled, bewildered and confused. The others suddenly reached into their clothes and yelled angrily and desperately into various box-shaped items. First contact, hold fire! Cease fire. We have first contact, I repeat first contact. Hold your fire. Confirm first contact, hold fire. Came the cacophony of yells and desperate cries. What did I do wrong? I looked to the skies. For a moment, and as they yelled into the boxes, the fire in the sky stopped. The stars slowed and the skies cleared. Wait, were these the gods? This better be worth it, Sergeant. An angry yell came through a tablet-like thing nearby. The tablet thing was picked up and aimed at me. The moving pictures of another one of these creatures, older, wiser-looking, with a big beard appeared on it. Well, see for yourself, sir, the one holding me said. What? Is this some kind of prank or something? Don't tell me this is another Canitris 4 incident, the older creature on the tablet yelled. No, sir, we wouldn't do that after Canatres. What do you think we are, idiots? Look at it. It's a Moshi caterpillar with a Roman helmet. It even has a little gladius and a tiny backpack. Look, the one holding me said, maneuvering me to face the tablet thing without dropping me. I just looked on in shock. I didn't know what to do and waved one of my front paws at him. Awkward. I don't, He looked at me for a minute, shrugged his shoulders, and sighed. Well, if it is a prank, It's a pretty damn good one. Screw it. My name is Admiral James Tass. Nice to meet you, I guess. Lucius Terrius IV. I let out a loud, aggressive belch. At your service, Admiral, I replied. I shouldn't have eaten that much. Everyone's mouth opened, jaws on floor as I replied to them. I just stayed where I was, as though I could run anywhere being held like that, and stayed as calm as possible. Well, that was unexpected. Holy shit, this is for real, the Admiral said. Kindly moderate your language, sir. There is a lady. Present, I reprimanded him. The female giggled from inside her armored machine. I replied with another loud belch. Welp, that settles it. Hello there, Garfield. Nice to meet you, the one holding me said. That's who he reminded me of, thank you, the one covered in yellow said with a sigh. What is a Garfield? I am not that. My name is Lucius Terrius, I replied, trying to get out of his grip. Really? Well, you are a cat-like creature with an orange coloration with black stripes who just ate a 3-pound 2-cheese lasagna by himself. Your nickname is Garfield, and this is not negotiable. He growled at me as the others began laughing. I regained my senses after this little insult. Oh, really? Well, perhaps now that you've seen fit to insult me, would you care to explain the devastation you have wrought upon my people for the last 2 months? I yelled. Pardon? The Admiral replied. What? Devastatio. Oh, shit. Okay. Oops. The planet wasn't scanned properly. We failed to notice the alien civilization and have been teaching the newbies how to use Mac cannons. Oops! Oops! Is that all you can say after you cost us our first bad harvest in 50 generations? I yelled angrily. Put me down right! Now! I bellowed and squirmed about. Okay, geez. Calm down, dude, please. The one holding me said and complied, setting me gently on the floor. I dusted myself off and straightened my helmet. Now would someone please explain what in purple hell is going on? I yelled out, frustratingly tapping my back feet. Okay. Please calm the hell down and I'll be happy to explain. We are human. Soldiers from the Terran Federation, Mars Union, Gaian Concordat, the IMDC, and the Stellar Assembly of Planets. The Admiral said. Okay. Humans. Right. We are the Cambarian. Ours is the Empire of Taranthus. Welcome to Cassarnia, I suppose? I replied. Thank you. Wish it were under better circumstances, I guess. Anyway, we are travelers from worlds far away, and we were conducting training exercises on your world. Our technology apparently developed a fault, and we failed to notice this planet was occupied before we started said training. That may explain the damage occurred because, well, we are training new students in the use of our tech, and, they missed. So, sorry, the Admiral said, nervously putting a hand behind him to rub his neck. Considering what I am witnessing, and hearing I suppose I have no choice but to forgive transgressions and say, please don't eat me or something. I replied frankly, no need for that. We know we made a mistake. We know we did wrong. What damage did we do exactly? Let me know and I'll order immediate repayment plus extra. Then we'll let the politicians handle it when everyone's okay. The Admiral said, standing to attention. This was my chance. Well, your falling stars and whatnot, your technology, it destroyed our crop fields and set fire to our harvest. We are in need of food. That explains why he ate an entire lasagna. Solo. Poor dude. He was hungry. The one covered in yellow said. Shut up, Sergeant, the Admiral yelled, forcing the yellow-covered one to snap to attention. Okay, I will send down a team for you, plus a ship full of supplies and equipment. We can solve that problem for you within the hour. Just need to know where to send supplies. Take us to your village so my men can organize the rest on the ground. I will send down proper diplomats so we can handle this professionally when everyone has a full belly. Sounds okay? That was easy. That will work well. Follow me. What choice do I have at this point? Oh, wait. I need something. First, I said, scurrying away into a clearing. I just remembered what I came here for in the first place. I found a gobble bush and quickly plucked a few of the delicious sweet treats that were its fruit and returned back to the humans. The female in the giant machine had followed close by and found another gobble bush and picked a few more. "What are these?" she asked. "Gobbleberries. So called because we can't help but gobble them up whenever we find them. They are a tasty, after-meal delicacy in my home. Everyone loves these things. I came out here to find a few so I could use them to celebrate an occasion with a family member. Wanted to make a cake," I replied. "Oh. Cool," she said, and tossed one of them into her mouth. Her face contorted into an expression of pure happiness. "Oh my God! These taste just like caramel candy apples with marshmallows in the center," she yelled. "Lieutenant! What did the training manuals tell you about eating alien items? Didn't we learn from the Antares incident?" The one covered in red paint yelled from his spot at the campfire. "Oops," she said as she swallowed. "Welp, too late now," I said. "Come, I will show you my home. Please try to make yourselves seem less, terrifying." Little did I know, the choice to let them follow me to my home was the start of my world's first golden age. They repaired the damage they did, and in exchange for letting them cultivate the gobbleberry bushes, we established a professional relationship. Their machines came in, and within a generation, we were on our way to joining them in the stars. Humans developed an interesting obsession with the gobbleberries, though. We found it weird, but so long as we kept cultivating them, they kept us safe and fed. We were fine with that. Enjoy another story. Probes and scouting ships found another species on the edge of the galaxy. The denizens of the Great Three decided that they would make a good conquest. Everyone was excited for the addition of new species to the Great Three, only for the entire galaxy to collectively soil its panties at the sight of the first human warship fleet. The children's eyes stared up at me with awe as the sound of alarms began to blare. The Great Three expected to come across an odd DEATHWORLDer species that only recently ascended to the stars, a Skakandi invasion fleet assembled at humanity's borders. A few dozen panicked transmissions and hastily garbled swear words later, the very same fleet returned home telling a harrowing tale of how they miraculously managed to bullshit their way out of what would likely have been the most embarrassing military defeat in galactic history. A squad of soldiers charged past us, each one readying their pulse rifles. You see, the Skakandi were expecting DEATHWORLDers, a harrowing fight and a decent battle. They were not expecting a fleet 20 times their size. They were not expecting every warship to be armed more heavily than most planetary defense networks. They were also not expecting a species whose engineering ability allows their warped sense of scale to field ships that were nearly 3 times the galactic average in size. They also were not expecting a race of battle-hardened war veterans who now had, count them, 3 vassal states under their command, plus a full species extinction under their victory belt. The ship shook as the shields took a hit. The first contact was supposed to be the Skakandi warfleet entering a system, fighting off the locals and then grabbing a few slaves for the Empire. The Skakandi instead encountered 6 human battleships, an entire support fleet, and a lone colony that it was protecting. These warships outranged, outgunned, and outclassed their slaver fleet 10-1. And this was nothing more than a local colony defense fleet. Panic immediately gripped the Great Three. Sanity, or at least something that resembles sanity, took hold of the Great Council, and they ceased all invasion plans or attempts at further antagonization. I gladly had the children's full attention with my history tale, as the sight of 5 soldiers struggling with a captured general passed us in the background. This, as it turns out, was a very smart thing to do, as barely 2 months after the Skakandi first contact, a human warship fleet was encountered by scouts on the edge of Ramakai territory. The human warship fleet had nearly 2,000 ships, half of which were larger than most of the Ramakai battleships. Humans also had a new concept for warfare called the sentry cruiser, which was the essence of a giant gun with engines. It could wipe out half the fleet with one shot. Alarms blared as an explosion rocked the ship's hull. The Great Three were quick to ensure measures to placate the humans, or at the very least make borders clear and simple. Diplomatic teams were sent through, and a peace accord was created with humanity. This, of course, didn't stop the Great Three from attempting covert operations to seize humans as slaves. You see, the Great Three is a term colloquially used to describe the three largest slaver empires in the galaxy. See, the Great Three were three slaver empires that teamed up together and used their power and resources to enslave half the galaxy. And angry, untranslated message hastily garbled itself through the intercom. I quickly used a remote to block the transmission and shut it up. Because of their influence and aggression, half of the galaxy's history and culture has been effectively erased. The Great Three took exceptional lengths to close ranks and try keep humans out, telling them lies and falsehoods to keep the humans out of their business. Because you see, the humans are freaks of nature within their own freak of nature. They're DEATHWORLDers, you see. Oh? DEATHWORLDers aren't abnormal? Well, the Skakandi come from a Class 1 DEATHWORLD, while the humans come from a Class 9 DEATHWORLD. The children gasped in awe as I continued to keep their attention through the chaos. Well, now we understand each other. Their warships, what we consider cruisers, are to them barely destroyers. Their Titan-class warships we encountered were actually just their standard-issue dreadnoughts. Apparently, humans have this thing where they lack any sense of scale and have the engineering prowess to express it. Not only this, but they strip mine entire planets to get their resources, and they do it with 10 times the speed and efficiency that we do. The kids smiled, a sparkle in their eyes I never thought I'd ever see cross their faces as we entered slipspace. So, who are the Great Three? Well, the Skakandi are tyrants who use slaves for labor. The Ramakai are insectoids who not only use slaves for labor, but also food sources. The Imakaiko are the worst, though. They're just tradesmen. They see others in the galaxy as little more than a business opportunity, and they enjoy doing very bad things that I can't say in front of kids to their slaves. The kids booed at my statement, and I waved them to be quiet. But this is why we are here. The humans you see, they hate slavery. They think that using another person against their will is very evil. That is why we are here, in a stolen battleship with a rogue admiral, making our way through to human space with a captured general. You see, kids, what we are doing is showing the humans the truth so the Great Three can't escape the justice that has escaped them for over 3,000 years. The kids yelled with glee as the universe returned to reality. Human fleet sighted. Enemy fleet in pursuit! The captain's voice bellowed through the intercom. Evasive maneuvers! He cried as we barely missed scraping against a human warship's hull. Jesus Christ, watch your goddamn self! Who the hell do you think you are coming out of LS at that speed this close to the star? What are you, insane? A human voice yelled out from the radio, all communications being relayed through the intercom. The ship shuddered as the humans angrily yelled at us. We almost immediately got caught in a series of tractor beams, and we were effectively yanked out of our hasty maneuver. We saw a clear sign that the local security forces were now latching onto our ship and were dragging us into a nearby ship's hangar. Human carriers outsized us a few times over, and the one we were being towed into was 10 times the size of one of our cruisers. Human radio communications yelled at us angrily as they dragged us inside, closed the blast doors behind us, locking us in the behemoth ship. Prepare to be boarded! We heard coming from outside, and suddenly the ship's doors were forced open, and a swarm of heavily armed humans charged into the ship. We didn't do much about this fact for 2 reasons. Firstly, we had no intention of fighting back against them. We were willing to surrender to the humans anyway, claiming status as refugees or escaped slaves. We had all reason and intent to surrender. The second reason was the shell shock from them boarding us and flooding the ship as fast as they did. Even if we intended to fight back, there was no chance if we fought back. Within a minute of the hangar doors being closed, I had 24 humans with rifles and weapons sweeping the cargo hold where I was with the children. Humans were more than just a little surprised at the sight of a few disarmed soldiers of many different races, a captured general and cargo hold containing children. They were bewildered as to what the hell had just appeared on their front door. Before any human officer could ask what was going on, they got their answer. Unidentified warship fleet entering the system. 200 ships, cruiser class, and lower. A human voice spoke over the intercom. I laughed at that. Silly human. Those aren't cruisers. They're battleships. One of the humans, holding a datapad of some kind, looked at me with confusion. Seriously? That's not a battleship. It's too small. That's just because you freaks of nature have such a broken sense of scale you don't know how to build. Small, I yelled, barely able to contain my laughter. Stand and deliver! Return our property to us immediately! The voice of the Skakandi general blasted over the comm. What the hell is going on? One of the humans asked. Humans! I am Grand. Admiral Thrak Thrantar of the Skakandi Imperium. I order you to immediately hand over my property. The voice of one of the Great Three's best admirals came over the comm. The children instinctively stood to attention as years of indoctrination hit them. A short, incoherent argument followed through the radio as the various sides yelled orders at each other, and the soldiers inside our ship took the chance to look around. During this barking contest, a human male of high status, judging by his uniform and medals, appeared on our ship and inspected the area. The argument was being broadcast across our internal communication array. The human male, presumably an officer judging by how the human soldiers around him were acting, calmly walked around the ship until he got to us in the cargo bay. He looked around us, just looking, bending over with his strange eyes and looking closely at various objects. Sergeant. Yes, sir, the human soldier responded. You an expert in remotes or explosive devices, yes? He asked, his voice calm and stoic. Affirmative, sir. Do you see what this is? The officer asked, pointing to the odd metallic devices placed around and on the children's bodies. Belts, collars, bracelets, anklets. The soldier looked at the devices and used a toolkit to fiddle with one of them. It didn't take him long, and one of the collars popped off one of the children's necks. The child squealed in terror and clawed at his neck, then became shocked, surprised, and elated all at once that it was off him. He started to cry with joy and leapt up from the floor into my lap. The soldier examined the collar. It's a remote-controlled shock collar with an explosive charge, sir. Designed to sever the neural connection to the body. It's a weird design, but it's easy enough to sever the connection to the remote control network and disable the explosive. Kinda childish compared to the ones the Ravati pirates used, really. Those were a bitch, he said. I see. Can you disarm all the collars here? The officer asked. Will do, sir. The soldier replied and started working away. All of this carried on with a rather annoying argument carrying on in the background. Another human officer entered the cargo bay, this one of a similar or slightly higher rank. Morning Fleet Commander. Kohaku, the previous officer asked. Morning, Admiral Jax, he replied. See what I see? The fleet commander looked around the room and picked up one of the disabled collars to examine it. Looks to me like a gaggle of escaped slaves aboard a stolen warship using us as their shield, Commander. Looks to me like the so-called Great Three lied to us. Our spies in the council were right. All the intel they got was golden, Jax replied. The admiral and fleet commander walked close to me, still holding a crying child, while a human soldier attempted to disarm my own collar. We shared a glance, a knowing look in the eyes and passive conversation, as my aged expression, scars, and stressed appearance told them everything. Fleet Commander. I will contact the fleet and inform Congress. We found a new slaver empire we need to burn, Admiral Jax said. I say for the last time, humans, you are harboring criminals. Return to us our property immediately, the Skakandi Admiral's grating voice kept yelling over the comm. And someone bring me that blowhard's head on a stick, he yelled and left the room. This is Fleet Commander Kohaku to all ships. I'm about to send you a few photos through the intranet. Take a close look at it and tell me if the Skakandi warfleet there deserves to exist, he said, then pressed some buttons on his wearable computer. The human soldiers on wearables, heads-up displays, and computer terminals all beeped in tandem, and the soldiers looked at it. It was a series of photographs of both myself and the children. Close-ups of scars, bruises, beating marks, and scratches, along with close-ups of the collars and explosive devices. A few tense moments passed with the Skakandi Admiral still berating them. All ships set to maximum fire, came a barked order over the comm. 30 seconds later, the fleet of 200 warships was reduced to slag. The Skakandi Admiral was caught shortly after, and the humans used what they called enhanced interrogation techniques to get the locations of fleets, homeworlds, and slave farms. 6 months. That's how long it took the humans to collapse the Great Three, an empire that stood for over 3,000 human years. was toppled and brought to its knees in 6 months. Human warship fleets were many times more numerous and heavily armed than intelligence ever suggested, and human infantry and ground troops put up a significantly more vicious fight than anyone expected. Capitals fell, homeworlds burned. Within 6 months, all of the galaxy slaves tasted freedom since the Great Three found them. Thanks for diving into this story with me. Don't miss out on the next one. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think.